Welcome back to Cancel Weekly. We have Candace, we have Gerard, myself, I'm Mickey. Today on Cancel Weekly, we have Cameron Diaz aging, we have AOC ASMR, we have Ozempic microdosing, we have Uncle Pappy on why we have to appreciate each other, we have if you mess with the bull, you get the horns, and we have some Big Daddy. But first, how important is what you think about?
Roll the clip.
All that and more on Cancel Weekly. Woo!
What makes a child grow up into the human being he becomes? Well, this is the reason for that. Of course, he's the confluence of a genetic pool, but what makes him become the person he becomes is that he becomes what he thinks about most of the time. It's as simple as that. We become what we think about most of the time. This is why a goal is so important. This is why people who set goals achieve them. The trouble with men is not in achieving their goals. They do that. It's in establishing them. That's the strangest secret. And finally...
Hey, so what do you guys think about that?
First of all, that's Earl Nightingale. He's very famous. He's like one of the original mindset people, manifesting. I'm always fascinated by like the rebranding of prayer, like a lot of this stuff with
As manifestation?
Yeah, like this used to be called praying. Think about something, wish for it, want it, ask for it. That used to just be called praying. Now it's like manifesting. Manifest your dreams. Like, it was very interesting. Like even guys like Rashad Evans, like some of the baddest motherfuckers on planet Earth, he's like, write your goals down, put pen to paper. That's like writing spells. There's power in that. And the people that believe this stuff really, really, truly believe it. And it's not for me to like poo-poo it or not. But I just always find it very interesting, like especially the drama behind it. Like this is the secret told for thousands of generations. The secret. And it's like, well, then somebody didn't keep the fucking secret because everybody goddamn knows it. Like.
Not everybody.
Not everybody. I think a lot of people understand.
All right, but do they practice it?
Manifestation? Well, that's a different story, right? Manifesting and meditating and praying. I
think it's more than just like. I hope this. My grandpa used to always say, "Wish in one hand and shit in the other." Tell me which one fills up first. Mm-hmm. You got to put action behind that. You can wish and pray all day. I think what it is what you believe. If you think about like, oh, I'm going to be broke and I'm going to be a failure, you're probably right. If you think like I'm going to be a success, I'm going to like and really, really, really believe it and also put action behind that, I think whichever it is going to come true. If you think I'm going to be a failure, I'm a loser, and you stay on the couch all day, you're probably right. And if you think like I'm going to be successful, be a winner, and are going to, achieve and put action, you're going to probably be right.
I mean, I think everyone already knows where I fall into this camp. Like, I believe
you're a manifester.
Yeah, I think it's the same as praying. I think it's just a different word. I have a picture of Japanese kanji in our hallway, and it says "thoughts become things" as a constant reminder, because it's the same thing. If you're focusing on everything negative, that's all you're going to be attracting. And if you're focusing on your goals and things that you want for your future, and like feel those things, you have the heart coherence for all of that, I think it shows up.
See, I think that's where I get stuck is that word attracting, right? Like I think focusing on things and having direction and having purpose is very, very powerful. But I think the power in that is in the process that you take to achieve. Like you don't sit there every day, look at your vision board, and it just like comes to you. Like I think that having a goal, having a brass ring, having something, and having a process to then achieve it is the most powerful way to live. That I don't doubt. But the idea that if I really, really think about something, Sky Cop is going to drop it on my door like he's an Amazon Prime driver. That's where I...
See, I kind of disagree with you guys, or maybe you guys can explain to me how it's the same thing as praying. How is it the same thing as praying? Because you're praying and you believe that God's going to bestow that upon you?
Yeah, I think it's semantics. I think the difference between meditation, prayer, manifestation, meditation, manifestation, I think that these are people trying to express their way of communicating with the ethereal or the metaphysical, and they're just using semantic terms. As opposed to being on my knees and begging, I sit here and I ask the universe and I open my heart and I just think about it and then it appears, and it's praying, right? It's the same. So because you didn't get on your knees in your bed at night and say, God, please give my family health and happiness, and I would like a Corvette too. That'd be kind of cool. If you see fit, God, I know you got more important things out there. Like anything that makes people happier, healthier, more motivated, I am all for it. But to me, it's all a gimmick. At the end of the day, it's just me.
No, I don't think so. And I feel like I've experienced so much that just like proves, like for me, like it's just I know there's something much bigger than me. I know that when my thoughts are aligned, I do think that there needs to be some kind of action. But I also think that there are examples where you don't need to do, where you can just be magnetic and things do show up for you. Like you get an offer out of nowhere and you didn't do anything, it was attracted to you. So I think if you look at everything as frequencies, you want it like attracts like. So if once you get to a certain frequency of believing that you are going to be successful or that you're going to be a huge contribution in science or whatever it is, you're now aligned with that frequency and you can tune into that channel.
Yeah, that could be manifesting, or it could just be like being one of the top 1% good-looking women on planet Earth. So, oh, wow, people just give me shit.
You're just
That's
good
crazy.
looking, Candace. That's all you got.
Yeah, so,
You're not
and
smart
I look, I'm being a dick for clip's sake here, but I think it's good. And I think people centering themselves is very good. And I think people having purpose again and a goal is very, very good. The cliche, like, a dream, a goal without a plan is just a dream. I really believe that. Like, okay. Like, hey, you really need to think about this. Okay, what's step one?
You need a plan.
What's step two?
You got to put a plan behind that. Do you guys ever hear about like I am statements? Like, I am rich. I am powerful. Mm-hmm. I am, whatever the thing is that you want.
Speaking to yourself in the affirmative.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to like actually believe it. Like, it's not just like, you know what I mean?
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
So one of the first therapists I had when I was suicidal and depressed tried doing that, and I was like, I am leaving. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Did you leave?
Yeah.
Fucking A, brother.
I'm like,
Hell
this
yeah,
is
man.
dumb. I'm like, I came to you.
Works.
Yeah. I've manifested a new therapist. Check and mate. I'm out. Yeah. That's hilarious.
I think that's important though,
So it
in
works.
terms of children. You know what I mean? Like I think instilling that into children where, I mean, I knew I was gonna be a professional athlete since I was little, since I was like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew that. I didn't think there was gonna be anything else I was gonna be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I felt the same way. And then when it was kind of ripped away from me, it was very difficult for me to identify as anything else. It took me 10 years to overcome that. It took me 10 years to come to the reality that that's not who or what I am anymore.
But you have to understand that one day you can't be a professional athlete your whole life.
Yeah, I guess. But also, in order to get to that level, you kind of have to burn the ships and believe that plan B is the enemy of plan A. And, you can't, because you hear things like this.
Yeah, you got to be all in.
Got to be all in. There is no plan B. There is no plan B. That's why I didn't go to law school. What the fuck am I going to law school for? I'm going to the big leagues. Why am I going to spend my off seasons in school? Fuck this. Got into Boston College Law. And they were like, I'm going to spend the off seasons? No, I need to spend the off seasons training. I need to hit. I need to throw. I need to get bigger, stronger. Fuck some bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that might have not helped.
Probably not. I don't think any of it helped. I don't think any of it was healthy. I don't think any of it made me a better person or made me of more service to the people around me or in my life. And, we talked about this, when I was really in the depths of it, talked about this with you, me, and Kim. I went on a spiritual journey, and I would go to mosques and I would read the Quran, and then I went to, Hindu temples. And I just wanted to kind of know, like, what's up, man? Like, I just don't feel this. I don't feel the spirituality everybody always talks about. I want to feel it. Like,
I got a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to do drugs to do it, though.
Some people know.
So if I got to do drugs, It's not reality to me.
No, the way that I look at it is psychedelics and then other medicines are a tool. So some people, you need like an extra jolt. It's not that you need it, because I think anyone can get there sober. But I think that we have built up so many protective mechanisms and layers around our like true self that if you're not going to use an enhancer, it's so much harder to get there, and it's going to take so much longer. So it's kind of like a cheat code for anyone that has like extra trauma or extra control issues or whatever the case may be.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate on that for a second.
Sure.
All right. If that other realm exists and that spiritual realm exists, and this is just a passageway between these realms, and heaven does exist, right? What do I care if God is real and angels are real and these things exist? What do I care about financial success in my career? What am I asking for? You know, it's
Well,
like,
then-
why would I, like,
Well, why are
what's
you
it matter?
assuming that that's the question? I don't ask those things. When I manifest and pray, I
Well,
don't ask
Earl
those
Nightingale, 100%.
What do you
tells
think
people that.
derailed your professional athletic career?
Poor decisions made, I did everything wrong you could do wrong. I had poor mentors. I made poor decisions personally. The number one thing is that I cared, and this is so cliche, but I cared too much. I didn't treat it like it was a job, and I lived on the razor's edge, and I wasn't thinking. I was very egocentric and narcissistic. I wasn't thinking about how I could be of service to my team, to my community, how I can use my platform to help others. I was only ever trying to see what I can get out of other things. And then in that regard, it makes it impossible for you to enjoy the process, and it degrades you. It degrades your soul. You become hard to be around. You become, you become self-destructive, and it's that if I had to do that all over again, I would have tried to go into it with a service mentality. Tried to take the route of how can I take this great gift and help as many people as I can with it, as opposed to how can I ride this for as much as I
Why
can
do you
get
think
out
that
of it.
would have made you more successful?
One, because it wouldn't have made me so jealous and competitive in things that I couldn't control. People that I thought were competitors that were getting accolades that I weren't getting, or even my teammates that were getting playing time that I wasn't getting. And I think, and this is like, we talked about this once on Cancel Weekly with artists, and you actually made a really great point about this. I think you can only be self-loathing for so long before you destroy yourself. You can only take that chip on your shoulder, that inner drive everybody talks about. Like, there's one Michael Jordan. I took that shit personally. I took everything fucking personally. And it ended up destroying me. Legitimately.
So you think like the being of service, giving back, that karmic energy could have served you better?
No, I don't think it's karmic energy.
What
I
goes
just
around
think it's
comes around a little bit?
Maybe, but it's not karmic energy. It's not like you're owed anything. I think I would have been an easier teammate to be around. I think I would have been an easier. I think
Which
more
could
people
have
would have
kept you in clubhouses.
Yeah, I think it would have. People would have done more things. Just because they liked being around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been easier to find guys to go to the gym with. Would have been easier.
You
to find
talked
guys.
about burning the boats. Yep. Didn't you not want to continue to play in Japan when you had that opportunity? It sounds like almost like you went back
are you just ask me a question directly? Like should I quit?
Are you saying? No, I'm asking you. Did you
ran out
go
of
back
money.
on that?
Yeah, I ran out of money. I had a girl that I loved, that I was madly in love with.
But I'm saying, did you go back on what got you to the dance? Did you stop dancing with that?
Yeah, man, it wasn't fun anymore. I wasn't enjoying it. It became very obvious I wasn't going to make it to the top. And that's all that really mattered, was making it to the top. It didn't matter. I didn't appreciate where I was. I didn't appreciate what I had. I didn't appreciate that I could have traveled the world for a decade getting paid to play a game. Like, you can't put an old head on young shoulders. For me, it was making the big leagues. And then when I look back at it, it was making the big leagues to prove everybody that said I couldn't wrong. Like, what kind of a fucking mentality is that? Mm-hmm. Like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, who gives a shit? You know, like, oh, all the haters are going to eat their words. Who the fuck cares?
It ain't about them.
Yeah, who cares? You know? And then you run out of money and you're like, I just need money. And then you're like, well, in your mind, you're like, I can always go back in. I'll take a year off. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm going to take a year off, but I'm going to take a year off, make some money, and go back. The game fucking passes you on. There's a whole nother group of guys. There's a whole nother group of kids that were the fucking special ones that were, you know, praying their whole life for this thing, that knew from the time they were 6 they were going to, the whole next group comes in, and you ain't shit, dude. And it takes you realizing, it takes it happening for you to realize that you ain't shit. You don't, you hear about it, like you said, well, it's not, you know, yeah, it's not going to be forever. You hear these guys tell you that. You hear these old guys come in and like, hey, make sure you're saving. You know, the game doesn't last forever. And in your mind, you don't say, hey, that's good advice from a guy that's lived it. You're saying, oh, this guy must have fucking sucked. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you watch Broke and you're like, pfft,
yeah.
I'm going to keep making money.
Exactly.
I ain't going to, yeah.
Yeah. This chump don't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You got
it's a little bit of
you gotta live it.
Like ego, you know what I mean?
Yeah, in some ways the martial arts, you know, I wish I had done that earlier because they really do help you, and they preach to kill the ego, right? Like kill the ego.
To a degree.
To a degree. Ego's the enemy, but in a weird way, pride is what gets you there, you know?
No, and so
no,
does
I
the
think
ego.
that's an illusion. No, I think I used to say that all the time. There's this quote where ego gets the book written, and I said this to this, I guess like a teacher I was working with, and he said, that's ego talking right now, and it's justifying its existence. And he's full stop. Ego is the devil basically to him, like it is evil, and as long as you have a human body, you will have an ego. There's no way to actually get rid of it in a permanent way. The loophole around ego gets the book written is doing something for contribution, looping back to what you were saying. So if you're doing something for something bigger than yourself as a means of impact, it's not ego that's going to drive you. It's actually something much bigger and something much more profound. So ego is the vanity project. I'm going to do this book and I want my face on every shelf and it's going to be a New York Times bestseller versus I'm going to write this book and it's going to help so many people, right? And both of those things will get the book written, one's ego and one's contribution.
The service mentality really does change, and maybe this karma, I don't know, but we've talked about this. I mean, the amount of success I have had financially since shifting my mentality to being of service is really remarkable. It really is. You wouldn't believe it, but it is. It's very, you know, just something as simple as training yourself. You're going to go to a party, you know nobody there, right? And instead of in the corner of your mind saying, maybe I'll meet somebody there that will know somebody and network, and like maybe I'll meet somebody there that can help, or I can help. I can be of service. How can I be of service? You know,
and like, that's helped you financially,
immensely. But you have to genuinely mean it. Mm-hmm. You can't be a trick.
You can't be like, I'm gonna help somebody because then maybe I'm gonna get something on the back
people
end.
Sniff it out too.
100%.
Yeah,
it's like
gross.
It's really gross.
Yeah, and the really gross thing is you go to that party and it's like, hey, I'm John. What do you do? Where'd you go to school? Mm-hmm. I'm a janitor. I went to high school.
Next.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you care what I do? Mm-hmm. So our first two sentences are weird.
Yeah, we were talking about what do you do? It's like, so I know how much I should respect you.
Yeah, should I respect you? Instead of it's like,
should
hey,
I
my name's John.
move
should
on?
I respect you or not?
Yeah.
Good job, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was something I wanted to ask Candace on this about the ego, but I've blacked out. So,
you know what I do is I picture like a little hamster on a wheel and I send him to my subconscious.
Oh, really?
And then I let it go, and 9 times out of 10 it comes back.
The ego or the
no,
hamster?
the question.
Oh, send a hamster.
Yeah, it's a visual exercise.
I lose those thoughts a lot.
Nope. So just picture a little hamster and you send him down. And you're like, go find this, and then you let it go, and it comes back.
You got a little
thought hamster.
You got a little hamster retriever in there.
I do. It works. Try it out.
Can't wait.
You're welcome.
Can't wait to see your DMs of somebody in a furry costume. You're like, I'm your little thought hamster.
Listen, the furries are nice people.
Oh, here we go. Well, every time. Next you're gonna defend the foot.
Yeah, until they want to shit in a litter box in your health
defend
class.
the foot weirdos.
Anyway, Cam Diaz has some thoughts on aging.
The women in our society and our culture, we don't allow other women to age gracefully. We don't allow ourselves to age gracefully. And we feel like if we're not like we were when we were 25 years old, if we don't look the same, that we have failed in some way. Like we have not done our job by staying in a stagnant place. And I believe that there's not a day that I want to be the same as I was the day before. I always want to be changing, and I always want to be getting older. I always want to be getting wiser. And that to me is a privilege. Aging is a privilege. Not everybody gets to do it. If you're not aging, the only alternative to not aging is you're dead. So
wow, I like that last quote, because that was another one of as I was listening to that, I was thinking that was another one of my grandfather's quotes. I know I just gave one before. If it's every time someone goes like, yeah, you're getting old, but hey, it's better than the alternative. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather used to say, there's no such thing as chicks with dicks. There's only dudes with tits.
Well, I think now
He wasn't in the Navy. He was a Navy guy. He was prescient is what he was. He was a prophet.
Yeah.
It was like his dying.
I feel like nowadays that ain't the
You're not
truth,
gonna understand it right now, but 20 years from now, you're gonna heed these words, boy.
Yeah. So, Candace, what do you think about that? Because I know, a lot of women, like their self-worth is based on, their youth, their beauty, and then they, especially in Hollywood, they like age out of these roles. So what do you think about that?
I think that there's some great examples right now of older women that are fighting the narrative of aging out. Like you've got Demi Moore, Jennifer Connelly,
Aniston,
Selma Hayek, Jennifer Aniston. So you have, I'm trying to pick like more natural. I guess Demi Moore is not, but what's her name? Naomi Watts is another good example. Nicole Kidman. So you have these women there in their late 50s, 60s that are still bombshells and acting. So this idea that you expire like old
you
milk.
assume no plastic surgery,
it's a mix.
No work?
The women I just threw in is like a mix. Some of them are natural, some of them are not natural. And I think do whatever you want to do. I think there's obviously a lot of pressure to always look 25, like you can't ever age, and for some reason it seems the women that were the most beautiful get punished the most. Like Pamela Anderson was getting ready for a fashion week, and she doesn't wear makeup at all anymore, so her getting ready is really just her skincare routine, and she's in her 50s now, and the comment section was just disgusting, and it's like, what happened to her? Time? Yeah, like what did you expect? And then if she were to be one of the women that decided to do the plastic route, then she would also get like ran through for the comment section. Like Megan, is it Ryan?
Yeah.
So Meg Ryan, yeah. So she has a lot of work, and she gets berated. So it's like if you choose to try to use technology and modern medicine to slow it down, that's not okay. If you choose to do it all natural, that's not okay. And it's like so many people, not only ourselves, are saying that's your entire worth as a woman. So I think it's redefining it for yourself, and then hopefully some other people go along, because it's like, yeah, you're not going to be as objectively beautiful as you were when you were younger, right? It's just a fact. But hopefully with the time, and what is replacing that quote beauty is something that's like way more substantial. It's internal beauty, it's wisdom, it's connection, it's family, contribution again. It's all these other things that are so less superficial than do I get a boner or not when I look at you? Like,
but isn't like Hollywood, like the pictures, isn't that pretty superficial?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. It's art. So it can be gritty, it can be real, and I think what resonates with most people is more realness. Like you don't want to see something that's so detached and unrelatable. Like we still like looking at pretty things.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. People like to see the shiny.
But are we saying that like that older women don't have a place in society, or they don't have roles in society? So there's still room for casting. They just don't have to be the young hot fling anymore. They can be a character that has a lot more like depth and edge and grit and shadow and uncertainty and like all of these other things that you can.
They can evolve as their age evolves.
Because if you think about it, if you're just sex on legs, right? Like if you're just this bombshell, it's going to be a lot harder and a lot less convincing to do any kind of dynamic role, because you're going to be distracted by that. So I think if you just allow it, it would actually give you a lot more freedom.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
But the problem is their narrative, right? The problem is everything you just said, I agree with 100%. The problem is that they complain that older men still get to be the lead, but they have to be the grandmother role. And, I find it really three things. And this all comes back to women wanting special treatment, in my mind. Men
shots fired.
Men get the comments too. It doesn't resonate with us nearly as much.
Candace said wrinkles are hot.
Well,
a couple
here's the
episodes
thing, right?
ago.
So, but I get it. And now somebody like a Meg Ryan is like, well, Pierce Brosnan is still getting roles with the lead, and that they did that big movie back in the day where Diane Keaton ended up with Keanu Reeves and
Something's Gotta Give.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Sure, and at the time it was a salvo, it was a shot to Hollywood. Like, see, a cougar can sell a movie, and
I feel like it's easy to say as a male, but like,
no,
some shit ain't fair.
It's not fair, but also at the same time, the women themselves want to have it both ways. You said the perfect word, casting. Mel Gibson couldn't get cast anymore, so what did he do? He put his money and he made his own movies.
Mm-hmm.
Make your own movies.
Mm-hmm.
Write your own role.
Apocalypto was fire.
But what's stopping you, right? Like, I get it. It sucks. You've made a lot of movie. You made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Make your movie.
Mm-hmm.
Show the world. It's very hard for me as someone that's been canceled multiple times, that had TV roles, that was gone because of my politics, to look at somebody that had a 20-year Hollywood career and say, well, I don't get to be the hot one anymore.
Well,
Make your own
yeah,
movie.
of course
Make
you
your own
don't, though.
movie.
But it's not supposed to be forever. And maybe the relationship for men, it looks different, right? Like you guys have a much longer growth trajectory, but at some point it drops off for everyone. For everyone. You could be Sean Connery. At some point you are going to be sexually undesirable to everyone but the person that you decided to get old with. And it's supposed to be that way, right? Something else is supposed to come from that.
Maybe. Maybe because think about it. Women are only fertile up to a period. Men could, procreate for a long time. Al Pacino just had kids in his 80s.
Yeah, but it probably wasn't his sperm from his 80-year-old sperm. He probably banked it because
He banked it.
Yeah, there's a misconception with that too. So yes, men's fertile years are much longer than women's, but the quality of the sperm does start to deteriorate. So the sperm of a 20-year-old man is very different than 40, than 60.
I got a hard time believing he banked it. I got a feeling he was just dropping loads.
Note to self, I better start banking some babies. We got to put something in the old
Put something in the cryogenics.
Yeah, how bad does it degrade when you're 40? Is it like a big turn down?
The way you
For men,
hit the alcohol, brother, the way you live, and you might want to sort of cryogenically
Men, I
about
think
5
it's
years ago.
closer to 50.
You got some pickled sperm over there.
Yeah, I think men it's close to 50 is where it starts to go
Hey,
down.
look, I don't really think Cameron Diaz was saying this. I think Cameron Diaz was, trying. It almost, in a way, felt like this is something she's internalized, some internal trauma, and their therapist helped her through this. And
She still looked pretty good.
I think she looks pretty.
right.
Yeah, she's still
So when you're, and this goes back
But
to
yes,
the baseball
I
thing,
agree with
right?
you.
Like when your whole self-worth is based on being the hot girl who got picked and would get the roles, people would offer you things, and now all of a sudden those things go away. And now you got to live the next 60 years of your life, thinking, man, I peaked at 23. That's a tough way to live life. Saying, it's almost like the high school quarterback that now runs like, like the AC company, and he goes there at the weekends with his high school buddies talking about
the glory days.
Yeah,
and,
he peaked at 17. Now you got to live the next 50 years of your life talking about, oh man, things in 1992 were really something, buddy. Let me tell you. Do it yourself. All right, I'm just kind of sick of hearing it for the whole industry. Do it yourself.
Men, women, whatever.
Men, women, the whole thing in comedy. Oh, people think women aren't funny. Then go be funny. Prove them wrong. You have the internet. Go do what we all do. Film yourself. Put it on the internet. And then what the internet says is what the internet says. And it ain't always going to be hunky-dory. It ain't always going to be nice.
Yeah, but it's not just casting, though, because, again, if you go in the feed of these women that were icons in their heyday and now they're just, in their 50s and they're doing something else, the comment section is filled with what happened to her. It's not like, I don't know, it's unacceptable that she's a biological creature and she's facing time.
But why does she focus on those? Because I guarantee there's a lot of people that are like, wow, you're doing great. Oh, you're beautiful. I love you. I can't wait to see this.
Because I feel like I don't know. I feel like the negative comments are probably outweighing, or they're probably really close, and then your brain recognizes it 10-1. So, I mean, we're wired for negativity, and then it's also like, why are you going out of your way to berate someone for being 50? It's just a weird thing, and it's a weird thing that gets pushed on women that were more beautiful than like the average.
Isn't it
person
crazy
as well.
that we're living in a time when it's the first time in history of the world someone could say something to you disrespectful and you can't smash them in the
Not
face.
get punched in the face.
You know what I mean? Someone could sit on their little computer and write some hateful ass shit to you, and no repercussions, no consequences.
I don't think that's a small thing. I think a lot of the problems we're having in society, politically, economically, a lot of these things
stem from that.
Stem from the fact that the type of personalities that evolution decided should not have a voice or should not have a seat at the table have now been able to circumvent most natural selection processes and get a seat at the table. Like, these tech guys are running our culture, and they're running it from a position of, I want revenge on everybody that bullied me in high school, right? So we're living through a very dynamic shift in the culture and the zeitgeist that I think, not to be minimalistic, but I think we're living through Revenge of the Nerds, and I don't think it's a good thing for the common good. I really don't.
Hey guys, you guys want to hear some AOC ASMR?
People don't really know what capitalism is. Most people don't even know what socialism is. But most people are not capitalists because they don't have capitalist money. They're not billionaires. Sometimes the label doesn't matter as much as just talking about policies. That's easier to understand. Do you think people should die because they can't afford insulin? Do you think that fossil fuel CEO should decide whether the planet gets set on fire? Me neither. Unionize your workplace. Start a worker cooperative. If it's too extreme for working people to own the means of production, why is it okay for private billionaires to own the means of production?
All right, so first impressions, I kind of like the ASMR. I kind of like the way it sounds. Not going to lie. But she's very high and mighty, very holier than thou, very like talking down at people there.
That's her whole shtick. Her whole shtick is like she acts like she's, someone that's like
she knows. And
I'm
like,
a person of the people.
guys.
I worked in a bar, but you grew up in Westchester. The funny thing is you worked in a bar because you were volunteering for Bernie Sanders' campaign, who wouldn't pay you a quote-unquote living wage. Why don't you unionize Bernie Sanders' campaign? I can go on for hours. Candace, go ahead.
This is pretty privilege right here, because if she didn't have that face, she would not have that job.
Ooh,
but she's also winking and nodding to whoever's there in the room.
But that's a great and that's the other thing too. That kind of goes to your point. She thinks she's hot though.
She
knows
is
she's
hot.
fucking hot, and she's like
hot.
winking and nodding to the guy like,
she's
hey,
off as
look,
hot.
we're cool, and like let's talk to these fucking plebes about some shit.
Most people with AOC, you always have to put the caveat in there of like, but I do, right? Most people don't know what socialism is, but I do. Most people don't know what capitalism is, but I do. And then she goes on to describe not capitalism, right? Most people don't have the capital to be billionaires. That's not what capitalism is. Free market capitalism is, hey man, those are cool feet. Mind if I see, like, you want to send me a picture of those feet? Here's $1. And then you're like, yes, sure thing, friend.
He's talking about her feet.
I'll give you a picture. I'll give you a picture of my feet for $1. And then he goes, whoa, wait a minute. I'd give you $2 for said picture of foot. Now, do I say
show those feet so they know it's his feet? Your feet. They're talking about.
I then
you got a little glimpse. No, you got a little glimpse.
Do I then go? No, this is unfair. I can't afford $2 for a picture of a foot. You're an evil capitalist. No, hey, buddy, work harder if you want them tootsies. Like, that's how this goes. You understand? Now, what they want to do, what socialism is, hey, friend, you need to sell those feet for $1 each. It's for everybody. And then they'll like shame you into doing it. And then it's like, okay, cool. Also, I get a couple pictures of the feet for free for the effort, right? Like, I mean, I made it cheap for everybody. That's socialism, right? Socialism is this idea, and the workers' collective thing. It's so dumb. They act like their worldview is so complicated that the common man can't understand it, that their economics are so complicated. It's pooling tips. That's all their entire economic worldview boils down to pooling tips. If you were 16 years old and you worked in a wait staff, you know how communism works. You pool tips. And then
But there's a cap too, though.
And we also know that pooling tips is bullshit if you are a hard worker. Because, you know, Susie's single mom walks in 2 hours late and her car is always broken down and she smells like Marlboro Reds. And, oh, by the way, I got to leave early because my kid has PTA. And now we're supposed to pool tips? I don't know. Not a great system.
No. And it sounded like she was making a case for Marxism at the end. Like owning the companies that, well, they didn't take the initial risk of leveraging their house and everything they own to start said business. So you don't get to now own that.
Well, they don't believe profit should be legal.
Yeah.
Profit should be illegal in their mind. Do you understand the concept of that?
Yes.
Okay. So the idea that profit is illegal, show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome. If I can get the same thing for minimal effort, why would I ever put in maximum effort? Why? And this is not a...
You just got a whole bunch of half-assers.
This is not a human condition thing. This is an animal condition thing, right? This is how we hunt. This is how wolves became poodles in 10,000 years. It was like, hey, here's some free meat. You don't got to go hunting.
Hang out by the fire, and if you hear someone, bark.
Yeah.
But, I guess, would you say...
If you bark at me, though, I'm going to take your balls.
Right. But like if you hear anyone bark and you could hang out, I'm gonna keep giving you some free meat. You don't gotta go out and hunt with the other wolves.
Nope.
I'll do that.
Nope. Nice, stay inside. Nice air conditioning.
Yeah, you're being docile. You're not trying to bite me.
You go outside when I tell you to go outside.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to go sniff that tree. Now that tree's in a different yard. You stay in this yard. You like your treats? Are you a good boy? Who's my good boy? That's socialism.
Yeah.
Some people
docile, obedient,
and to some people, that's heaven.
Yeah.
I know. Think about your dog. Your dog has universal health care. Your dog doesn't have to pay for housing.
Sleeping on couches.
Your dog doesn't have to pay for food.
For some people, that's the dream.
It's the dream. And then what happens? When one dog gets out, what do the other dogs
Some people want to stay home all day.
A lot of other dogs, do they try to get out too, or do they start barking? He got out, he got out, he got out.
Yeah. Little snitch bitch.
Yeah, man. And look, there's some people are perfectly cool being a labradoodle. You know, go with their white woman, be in her bag, get the pets, you know. There's other people that are like, no, I bark when I want to bark, eat what I want to eat. And yeah, I might have to sleep outside. I might eat trash. But it's me. I choose.
Mm-hmm.
But also what we have right now is not working either, because you have big pharma, you have big agriculture. Everything is corrupt, right? There's all these relationships that are happening behind closed doors that most people don't know about, and you have to pay extra to have your food not poisoned, and you have to pay extra for medication just because you're in the United States. And then then you have all these investment opportunities that the average retail investor can't do because you're not, quote, accredited.
Buy a house.
But you can go to Vegas and they're not checking for accreditation there, or when you sign up for a student loan or 5 credit cards. So like we're really pretending that we're trying to protect the customer.
Sure.
None of that makes sense.
Everything you just said, I couldn't agree with more. The only thing I would say is that that's not capitalism.
Right. Well, you don't have that.
We don't have it. We have corporatism and we have a kleptocracy.
Kleptocracy.
Yes. It's when the criminals run the show. It's what happened in Sicily with the mob, right? Like when there's selective justice being applied. She's talking about rich people shouldn't, be allowed to kill poor people because of insulin. And that was a response specifically to Martin Shkreli, right? Where he jacked up the price of insulin. Well, my response to that is that's not capitalism. Capitalism then becomes, why is insulin a regulated market? Why can't me and you buy insulin and sell it to people for $1?
Cheap, yeah.
Like, you're telling me we want to talk about what's happened to our economy, and we want to talk about inflation, and we should. But nobody wants to talk about credit card processing? You run businesses. How much do credit card processors charge your businesses? That used to just be money. That 3% was you.
3%.
And then they
Yeah.
don't just charge your businesses 3%. For me to use the card, they're going to charge me 8 or 9%. So they're getting it on both ends, and we're wondering why nobody can afford anything, why credit's through the roof. But nobody wants to go after MasterCard or Visa. Why can't we get in that game? Why is nobody operating in the margins?
Banging
To your
you
point,
out.
why is nobody operating in the margins anymore? For the history of our economy, you had a company built something, Ford builds something. It's a great thing. Everybody wants it. 16 other car manufacturers come up selling just as good of cars for less money because I'll operate in the margins. I don't need $1 billion. I'm happy with $500 million. So instead of at 3%, I work at 1.5%. But that doesn't happen anymore. Why doesn't that happen anymore? Well, because these people buy the politicians, and the politicians get rid of the competition. That's also known as fascism or socialism, where the government and the companies work together to have a centralized, controlled economy. That is not the free market, and it is in no way capitalism, which is why people like her are so dangerous. She is identifying the problem, right, the symptoms, and then she's misdiagnosing the disease. Very dangerous person.
Diseases. Talk about big pharma. We got Ozempic microdosing. Thoughts?
Ozempic's FDA approved for type 2 diabetes. Wegovy is the same thing. FDA approved for obesity. And we can use this as a tool to give people this opportunity to get their lives back. And it turns out it's a peptide. It's not really a drug. Peptides insert themselves where they need to go and they heal tissues and they're regenerative. So this can't be the horrific substance everybody was making it out to be. I started calling all my friends, compounding pharmacy friends, and I said, are any of you microdosing this? Why are we not using this for autoimmune disease? Why are we not using this to mitigate neuroinflammation? Why aren't we using this to mitigate high blood pressure and all these other conditions? And then what I figured out, which is my hypothesis, if somebody's really metabolically sound and they have good muscle mass, they just need a tiniest little touch. And so everyone says, well, what's the right dose? It totally depends on the person. So all in all, I think the longer someone's on them, if done appropriately, I think it's healing the metabolism long term. It's a regenerative impact on the metabolic health of the individual using it. My hypothesis is that we're wiring the brain through the use of these neuroregenerative peptides. So whatever habits you instill over the next however many months are going to be much more permanent. There's a longevity piece to this, and it depends. I'm not going to go off of it. I'm going to cycle it. I'm going to rotate it. Some people might want to go after weight loss initially, but then we got to find the dose where they're not losing any more weight, but they are having the impacts they're looking for. There's fertility improvement with them. You know, we're having the Ozempic babies we're hearing about because you take care of the metabolic dysfunction and people get pregnant.
That's very interesting.
Do you guys know anybody? Do you guys know anybody who's used Ozempic?
A lot of people.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's pretty popping nowadays, huh?
Yeah, everybody. And what she's saying, so I work with Merrick Health, so Derek, more plates, more dates. It's incredible. They have an amazing team.
Let's can we roll it back a little bit?
Yeah.
You guys say everybody. What exactly does Ozempic do? It's supposed to make people thinner?
I don't
Raise
know.
their
At the end, like on like a 10,000 foot level, yeah, it's like a weight. People are using it for weight loss. I think it was a diabetes. I don't
It's
know
for
enough about
diabetes.
it.
Right, that's what it said there.
But I do know that if you go to telyrx.com, TELYRX.com, and use code SNT, you'll save 20% off of Ozempic. And that was telyrx.com. Use code SNT. Two things that I really liked about that. One, it was nice to hear a quote-unquote expert use the term hypothesis and not just frame it as an absolute truth. And
Yeah, that
fact.
was refreshing.
You know, like, we've heard so much from the Fauci asshole and all these other guys. No, this is what's true. I know this to be a fact. No, she said, this is my hypothesis. And it kind of reminds me of Test a little bit when these guys were getting all juiced up in the 70s and 80s, and then guys were dying, and then we got all those PSAs when we were growing up. If you take steroids, you're going to get cancer, and your balls are going to shrivel up. And it turned out that the dosages those guys were doing were insane. They were doing insane dosages, and they were also doing very unclean things because it was illegal, and they were buying it from, like, Cuba and Soviet Russia and Mexico, and they were getting, this shit that had, like, was made from monkeys and stuff. So now that, I swear to God, now once the anti-aging thing took over and now TRT became a thing, you're seeing everybody is on Test. And I had never even heard of a peptide till like a year ago. Now it feels like everybody's on peptides.
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys said everybody's on Ozempic and now everyone's on peptides.
It's the same thing. So Ozempic
I know
Ozempic
is a peptide based on that video, but
you know guys on peptides. Peptides are all over the MMA community.
I know a couple people on peptides, but like
I know way more than a couple.
Really?
Way more than a couple.
And they all have different functions.
We can't take that shit. In the UFC, you can't take peptides.
You can't get caught taking it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys in the MMA community there too.
MMA community, not the UFC though.
Maybe. That's a distinction.
So you guys say everybody's taking Ozempic.
Yeah, a lot of people
are taking it.
Have you guys taken it?
I have not, but people in my family have with great
Really?
success, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's healthy for you? It's okay? Or
It has been on the market for 20 years for the use
20 years.
for diabetes.
I just started hearing it.
Right, because now they found
now they figured out
right for weight loss. But the new stuff, the stuff that's really interesting. So the doctor at Merrick was the one that sent me that, and she's like, you have to check out this lady. She's talking about doing microdosing for semaglutide, and she's seen as very controversial. And I talked to my I have like a private doctor that I see, and he is the best, so I kind of use them as a team because he's in person and then Merrick is virtual. And he said the same thing, that basically he thinks there's this giant collusion that's actually happening against these semaglutides, because what they are seeing is that the impact on inflammation is so profound that it's showing as a possible protection mechanism for Alzheimer's and dementia.
Whoa.
It's reversing autoimmune disorders.
That's huge.
It's increasing fertility. And if this one thing and a microdose can fix you, you don't need all the other things.
There's a lot of data that shows that Alzheimer's might be like type 3 diabetes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an insulin
So
problem
there's
in
something
the brain.
with smoking, and there's an insulin issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if we are able to reverse kind of the type 2 diabetes, does that then mean that we may be able to reverse if dementia and Alzheimer's really is like a type 3 diabetes? Two different people have said this online recently. It was
Max Lugar.
Mm-hmm.
How do you say his last name?
Forget.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that, and I heard it's not as simple as that.
It's
I have a
definitely not
friend
as
who, his father is dealing with that, and it's I brought the same thing up, but it's not as simple as that. It's almost like when you should avoid sugars early, but once it's happening, it's hard to. It can't really be undone.
It can't be undone.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a lot of promising work with psilocybin and Alzheimer's and dementia in reversing.
Really?
Yeah.
So why doesn't
can you talk more about that?
I don't know a lot because I didn't go to the conference Eric did. It was at Abundance 360, which is Peter Diamandis's conference, and it's anyone goes to this conference. It is all about exponential technologies, the future of like money, education, everything, any kind of industry, and like moonshot goals. And one of the speakers was talking about the work that they're doing with psilocybin. It's showing very promising results for that. So that I can't imagine has anything to do with insulin. Maybe it has to do with the rewiring of the neural connections, and maybe that helps things come online. I have no idea. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, you gotta send that to me. And yeah. I gotta ask. What I was saying before was I felt like my introduction to Ozempic was that it was demonized.
Same.
And now, have you come around on it?
Well, the problem with Ozempic, and what I really like about this clip, is the idea of microdosing, going back to what I was saying about the test stuff. When everybody was taking testosterone and Lyle Alzado was sitting there with brain cancer.
Overdoing it.
It turns out the dosages that they were doing by today's standards are asinine.
Right.
Like never coming off of it, doing stuff every day, drinking, doing other drugs and stuff while they were doing it, so, and I got to tell you what, the CTE stuff, I'd be very interested to know how much both the painkillers and the other stuff have to do with that.
So, you know what? I heard recently with creatine. Now, when I was a kid, creatine, I wonder if you, were familiar with creatine. Mm-hmm. They were like, be careful with creatine. Probably don't take creatine because
bad for your liver
it's bad for your kidneys. You know what I mean? It can dehydrate you. It can soak up the water. You have to drink so much water with it.
Yeah.
Now they're saying women over a certain age should be taking 10 grams of creatine when the recommended dose was 5 grams for males who are like bodybuilders, power lifters, extreme athletes, whatever. Now they're talking with NFL players. They're giving them 15 to 20 grams of creatine before games because of head trauma. It prevents Alzheimer's. It has all these benefits. So this is another one that, originally was kind of demonized, questioned,
Nicotine.
scrutinized. Nicotine's another one. It's a neuroenhancer, cognitive enhancer,
When
neuroprotector.
Dr. Drew, when you asked, when we were on Legion of Skanks, and Dr. Drew
Give me one of these motherfuckers.
straight up was like, no, nicotine's good for you. I was like, you got to be kidding me. After everything I've heard my whole life.
Isolated. When it has like
It's the tobacco that's bad. It's
the
tar
tobacco
that's bad,
and the
but
bullshit
nicotine.
they put in the dip is bad. But when it's just like straight nicotine, yeah, it's good for
I still
you.
think guys can.
Well, that
It
Max
prevents
guy-
Alzheimer's. All
That
stuff.
Max guy was also saying though there are some cases where it's not all good because it's a vasoconstrictor, so if you have any injuries, you could be slower to heal, or if you have chronic pain, like he said, he has chronic low back pain, so for him it's not a good idea because
I wouldn't know anything about
you're
that.
restricting more blood from getting to the places that it needs to be. So if you
Interesting.
use it, you want to make sure you're using it sparingly.
Vasoconstrictor.
What scared me about Ozempic was a lot of people talking about when you get off it, your appetite is so crazy that you put all the weight back on. And it's a ton of it basically, from my understanding of what it is, it just you lose your appetite. So it's kind of like helps you fast. You know what I'm saying? So like you just don't want to eat, and when you do eat, you get full quicker. It kind of has, from what I understood it to be, the same values of like bariatric surgery without getting the bariatric surgery.
Okay, is that the thing with like the stomach thing where you can only eat like a very
Correct.
small amount or you're gonna hurt yourself?
Yeah, but this concept of microdosing makes it very, very. So I called Phil Heath's guys, and I'm gonna get my blood work done at the end of July, and then
Thank
I'm gonna
God.
get on all these. I'm gonna get all juiced up and get on all these peptides and all the testosterone, and all that stuff, and then I'll report back to you guys and see how it goes.
Just stay out of the bar. Like, just go to the bar like one
I'm gonna
day a
do
week.
the other stuff instead. I'm gonna take $10,000 worth of fucking medicine instead of not drink 4 nights a week.
All right. All right. Well, that's an approach. Anyway, I got this guy. His name's Uncle Pappy, and he's going to talk about why we need to appreciate each other when I think it's hard in today's day and age. Roll the clip.
Y'all ever see those videos in New York City in like 1912 and everyone's bustling, hurrying around on the street? And I think, God damn, they were stressed back then too, man. And now look, they're all gone. And I know that's depressing to think about, but it reminds me of a quote from, I think Anne Lorette said it. I heard Pete Holmes say it. Every 100 years, there's all new people, baby. Every 100 years, all new people. The people we're on Earth with right now, this is our crew, okay? In the same way you can't pick your family, but you got to get along with them. We can't pick the people we're on Earth with, but we got to get along, man. In the whole grand scheme of the universe, all the time, all the space, the people on Earth right now, this is a tiny little group, man, and we get to be a part of it, man. I'm in the grocery store, I see a fella, I think, God damn, I'm on Earth at the same time as that guy, man. I see a cool lady, I think, man, we're alive at the same time. Man, that is freaking sick, man. Be kind to your neighbor, man. This is what it's all about. I'm glad I'm on Earth at the same time as y'all. Thank y'all. Keep on rocking.
I love him.
I fuck with that positive dickhead. Hey, G, what do you have to say about him, pal?
He's cool.
Yeah?
Great
what
guy.
else?
Awesome. Cool. I don't believe a word he's saying, but it's all
You don't
good.
believe
No.
him? You don't think he's giving love to the people
No, I
in the
think he
grocery
is, man. He
store?
seems like. I think it's weird when guy. How old do you figure he is?
I'm going to go
60-something?
about, I was
Oh,
going
no,
about
it's-
67, 76.
67, 76. That's the
Something
market.
between there.
Oh, really? I was going to say like 78.
78. You think he's that old?
Yeah.
Damn, he's moving good. Florida man. Yeah, I think you get to. Now that I'm down here in Florida, I'm around old people all the time, especially pickleballing, and it seems like we all end up in one of two camps. There are people that nothing bothers them at all anymore. They've seen it all, done it all, and everything bothers them all the time. Those seem to be the two camps. As people age, they all fall into, hey, nothing you can do, move on. Like, literally don't sweat the small stuff, which I guess would be Uncle Pappy there, or sweat everything. Your soup comes out lukewarm instead of hot, your whole fucking day is ruined. Can nobody even make a soup anymore in this once great country? So
my dad just turned 60, and his advice to me and Kimberly, his marital advice was don't sweat the small stuff. Little perspective, I think. I think the older people get, the more they seem to be like, yo, don't sweat the little things, which makes me think they're onto some shit.
There's the
You know what I mean? They got more experience than us.
That circles back to the beginning of this episode with manifesting. Sure, that sounds good, but do you have the toolkit and the process in place to be able to not sweat the small stuff?
Yeah, I
and
think
Jordan
so.
Peterson takes an opposite approach.
He says sweat the small stuff.
You wrestle with
That's a Kevin James comedy special.
You make your bed because it's important and everything's
That
important.
motherfucker's always crying. He's sweating a lot of small stuff.
I think everything is important. I think so we have been given advice, which is pick your battles a lot.
Yeah,
and I
choose what hill to die on.
I disagree on pick your battles. I think you have to hash everything out. And what I'm not going to articulate it like Peterson, obviously, but the idea is that if you don't hash out the little things, they kind of accumulate and compound.
They fester?
Right.
That's interesting.
And then eventually there's resentment or contempt or stonewalling and all of these things that end up being a really
I don't
big...
think communication should be, extinct. I think that's important.
Well, it's like,
but I don't think sweating I think discussing the small stuff is okay, but not like, you know what I mean? I think there's a delineation there.
That's an interesting point. So is not sweating the small stuff the same as avoidance behavior?
No, absolutely not. 100% no. I think discussing anything is okay if you discuss in a respectful, way. I think there's absolutely. I think communication is one of the most important things. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you need to go to battle over every little thing or have an internal conflict over every little thing. I think whether it's an internal discussion or an external discussion, I think those are very necessary.
So, in baseball, there was this thing called kangaroo court, and it was only on. We only ever had it on one team that I did, and it got passed down from then on to every other team I was on because it ended up being like the best way to communicate with one another. When somebody doesn't hustle or somebody does something stupid, right? The good old boys will get in your face. That's good leadership.
I saw Papelbon call out Harper on not hustling out.
That was garbage. And what
that was garbage?
What Papelbon did and the way he did it was garbage.
Something going on in the dugout.
See Papelbon saying run the ball out. And Bryce saying you got to be kidding me. And then Papelbon went right after Harper.
He just said it.
No, they ended up having a full out.
I saw the fight,
match,
but Harper could have been like, all right, come talk to me over here.
So the better way to do it, I found, was this thing called kangaroo court, and that's when somebody can accuse you of a crime, and then at the end of the road trip, you have an actual court, and if you have to defend yourself in the court. Or you can get one of your friends to be your lawyer and defend. I didn't run that ball out because my hamstring was hurt, and then I didn't want to push it too hard. And then everybody will then, hey, you didn't run out the last 4 balls either. I think your hamstring's doing just fine. If your hamstring's hurt, you should go on the DL. And then the judge, who's normally the person with the most time on the team, the veteran, will rule in favor of one or the other.
I can agree with you from the standpoint of certain discussions should be when the heat is cooled down.
It's playful.
If Papelbon is hot about it now, like, yo, motherfucker, you should have ran that ball out. Run that shit out. And then he takes, if he had, like, the foresight to be like, you know what? Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to settle it. We're going to discuss it later.
Yep.
From, like, a calm, cool standpoint.
Yep.
Maybe that's better.
Okay, but let's look at what happened. Papelbon was released 2 years later. The manager was fired that year, and Bryce Harper went on to win 2 MVPs on a different team. So who benefited from that situation?
Nobody, but that's just a piece of time.
Yeah, but if you blow up, I get it. Don't sweat the small stuff. Also, don't be avoidant, but also at the same time, like, what is the tool set, I guess? But I think both can be.
I think a calm, cool, collected.
What's the tool set?
Calm, cool, collected, respectful discussion. From a standpoint of love, and like I'm not trying to like shit on you. I'm trying to give you love. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So what do you do? How do you set the boundaries of the tone? With people that you love, that you have to live with, that you have to be around. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't have to live with anybody, be around anybody. So for me, it's I say something to you once, and then if you do something again, you're out. That's it. You're gone. I don't give a shit. I don't answer your calls. I don't answer your texts. You're out. I remove myself because I'm not going to be disrespected like that. So I mean, maybe that's extreme, but I feel like I've given people an opportunity, and then they made their decision.
Yeah, I can't speak to that because it depends on the relationship and the infraction. You know, some cases maybe that's perfectly justified, and I'm sure there's probably plenty of cases where that would be overreacting, like a self-protection thing maybe is going on. But when it comes to like the little trivial things, and I think this is what most of the older couples mean when they say choose your battles, I think everyone has tics that can get under your skin when you're cohabitating, and that it might be things you didn't even realize, like the toothpaste. Or for me, it's laundry, for example. So we have 2 bins, and so many times, like I don't even know how many times it's like, this is colors, this is light.
You're segregating at home?
And for some reason...
See, that's going back to, I think, a couple episodes, I was talking about the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't know you couldn't wash towels with the other clothes.
Yeah. So,
whites and darks, all this shit. Yeah, there's a lot of segregation. It's unbelievable.
So you got to hash it out, though, because these things, if you let them go unsaid, it's just the laundry. It takes me 10 minutes.
You might be
to
a little
sort
pissed
it
off,
out.
like, this motherfucker
right, and that
doesn't
builds
know
and
what
builds
the fuck
and
it
builds.
is. But
So
if
instead,
you don't talk about it,
right? Or when it gets too full, it's on the other side of the house is the laundry room. So I'm saying, when you notice that it's full, please grab it. And please grab it and take it to the laundry room. It's really heavy for me to lift all the way across the house.
When the house is that big, it's called
across
a wing.
the huge house. You don't have like a dumbwaiter or an elevator to ship it across your house? Unbelievable.
I know.
I know you were talking about. I know you were talking about toys, right? Like you were talking about toys earlier, and it's like you just want one place, but also like. Mm-hmm. Nobody's trying to be disrespectful. They just want to play with their toys. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's
talking about our kids.
Yeah, I guess I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to suggest whose toys they are or what toys.
I didn't know what kind of toys. There's a lot of toys.
We were
in this
talking
place
about.
that,
He's
unfamiliar with.
He was saying like, wait till the boys are older because it's just gonna be chaos, and I like things orderly. I'm like, there has not been order for years at this point. Like every single room has kid stuff everywhere, and I was like, this is the adult only room, and that lasted for an hour.
And that's where most of the toys are.
No, actually not. They're just like slow, like.
Her and Eric will beat the shit out of those kids. They disrespect the adult area.
Wow, mommy and daddy have a really fun swing.
Oh, my mom had one of those.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and I had
sex swing,
and I had no idea, and I was like, "Ooh, that's
oh, bless
so
your
pretty.
heart, Candace."
Your mom?
Yeah.
And you found it?
It was a permanent fixture in the room.
How did this not come out till now?
What?
How did we not talk about the sex swing?
Yeah, it was like this blue velvet.
How old were you when you discovered when this
I didn't know that it was that.
You
so
thought
to be
mommy's got a
fair,
fun swing in her room.
9 or 10.
Oh, Jiminy
Yeah,
crisscross.
and I just thought it was a cool swing, and I was like, ooh, you can like put your snacks on it while you watch a movie.
Oh no.
Wait, I don't actually understand what a sex swing is because
There's
I'm
different ones.
gonna give my idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to be very accurate. You're gonna get a penile sprain.
A sprain.
At least in the least.
You can tell that Mickey was an older brother where his only concept of a swing is to throw the people off of them as hard and as far as they can.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. What are you guys talking about?
You ever try to like make people go around, see if the swing would go around?
Yeah, of course.
It does.
Not to my sisters, but
yeah,
it does. It does.
And that ends up in serious.
Someone starts crying, and then you got to walk away speedily.
I swear, my grandma only spoke in idioms when I was growing up. Like, too much laughter leads to crying. Like we would only hear from the other room. There would always be
That's Irish
like a
fuck
parable.
right there.
Yeah. Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. What was the other? Oh man,
people would think that's Italian, but that's just New York.
Eating bread is soon forgotten. Eating bread is soon forgotten.
Preach.
Eating bread is soon forgotten. That was when she thought she wasn't getting enough credit for something that she did or something like that.
You give people, you feed people.
He cries poor with 2 loaves of bread under his arms.
That's Sopranos. But you feed.
That was my grandma.
That was your grandma too.
Yeah.
You feed. Yeah, you give people. You feed people. They, that's quick to switch up on you.
My dad
You know
was
what I mean? Don't forget that shit.
My dad switched it up a little bit. It was like lessons not learned in blood are soon forgotten.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
What was some other idiom?
My grandfather used to say, life's a stage. The best actors get the best parts.
Oh.
I think that's something that you got to, you know what I mean? Whether whatever you're feeling that day, you got to step up and put a smile on your face and, you know, choose happiness and, you know,
them that hide find. That was another, like if you asked my grandma, like, Grandma, have you seen my cleats? Them that hide find. Like, you're the one that lost it. It's got to be retrace your steps.
Huh.
Yeah.
My father-in-law, do you know the what is the saint that you pray to?
Anthony.
So I saw, was it with a clip that we played?
I don't pray to saints. I just manifest my lost
where
things.
he was like, Saint something, Anthony, turn around. What is lost is now found. But it's in this like very Jersey or like South New York accent, and he's hammered drunk and he lost something. So I convinced him if he did this 3 times and spun around, he'd find his thing.
It's like Bloody Mary.
Turns out Eric hit it. So on the 3rd turn, he puts it out for him to find it, and he's like, "Oh my God, it worked!" And I was like, "You just,
Saint Anthony, praise Jesus!
You just became Catholic."
Yeah, so what we were taught to say was, Saint Anthony, please come around. I've lost my XYZ and it needs to be found.
Yeah.
Saint Anthony, please come around. I've lost my fucking beer and it needs to be found. Like, you know, or normally it was keys or something like that.
Yeah.
God forbid your wallet. Saint Anthony,
Or your
please come around.
flashlight.
I've lost my,
Your
lost
butt
my
plug.
wallet. It needs to be found.
Whatever we got around in the studio.
You weren't really playing to Saint Anthony at that point, but like.
That was a different game.
Oh, speaking about games, guys. Y'all ever hear a great saying? You mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Yes, sir.
Everyone just enjoying this in a stadium. Oh, that motherfucker went rogue. He's out.
Ungovernable.
Watch out now. Head on a swivel. Wow. Shit fuck.
Played that one
Oh,
boy.
that hurts.
Oh boy.
That's
Why her?
She was wearing red. She's wearing red.
Her ex-husband put a hit out on her.
She was wearing red, dude.
She was chilling in the parking lot.
Yeah, with a red ass shirt on at this bowl party.
I want to believe that you checked this clip to make sure she's alive.
Whoa.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
But I think so. I think she might have fucked up a few vertebrae, but I think she's gonna live.
Yeah. What's her quality of life?
No so bueno.
No so bueno es bueno. No, it's no good. It's no good. That is wild.
Yeah, fucking A.
You know how they get them to hop around like that? You know how they make those bulls so crazy? No, you know.
By themselves out there like that? Or when they're on them?
How do they get them to buck? Do you know?
No. When
What
they're
would
not
enrage
being, when
a
they're
male?
Not,
What would be a sensitive spot you could force some movement out of?
his junk?
Christian, do you know how they get the bulls to buck? So they tie a string around the testicles, attach the string to the gate, rip the gate open, and the bull goes.
Really?
Yeah, man. They go a tugging.
I thought they had a weight attached to it, and every time they bucked, it would pull more, and they'd be like, "Get it the fuck off! Get it the fuck off!" And they would just be going wild.
The producer can tell us which one's which. Okay. My understanding is they rip it with the gate.
Yeah.
But that's why it takes like 6 or 7, 8 seconds for the bull to calm back down, and that's why if you could ride it for 6 seconds or 8 seconds, you're a monster. Because finally, after 8 seconds, the bull's like, okay,
I'm gonna lay down now.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie 8 Seconds?
No.
One of my favorite movies.
Really?
Yes. I don't know how it'll translate to you guys, but it's about a professional bull rider. It's a true story. It's amazing. It's amazing. Highly recommend.
My boy Cowboy
badass.
Cerrone just got his bicep torn trying to ride Dana White's bull.
Really?
Dana White has a bull?
It was no bueno. It was not good.
That's a bicep tear. Is a bad tear.
Yeah. You can get it done right where like your bicep just rolls up to the middle, but if it rolls up to the top, like it rolls up like a lampshade, similarly to your Achilles.
Oh.
If you tear your Achilles, it could roll up far like a lampshade. Like you pull it down, whoosh, it snaps up. But some people like Kimbo, the great Kimbo Slice, rest in peace. He had a bicep tear, and it went right in the middle. So it just looked like he had this perfect fucking bicep,
Apple.
right? But also, like, you see a guy like Matt Serra where it rolls up to, like, his shoulder.
Yeah.
So now his shoulder looks like it's, like,
It
looks
looks like
more
one arm
fucked
looks
up.
like it's got.
And
a
you can't
atrophy.
unroll it.
Nah, it's kind of it's something you're gonna have.
Our body's
Wow.
basically just like a bunch of fruit roll-ups, stapled to some wood.
Mm.
Yeah, more or less.
Is there any movies that you guys could like recite, like as you watch it, like you watched it so much, maybe as a child?
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting. You could recite every line in that
Pretty
movie.
much, I would think so.
Really?
Yeah.
What about you, Candace?
Probably Harry Potter.
Harry Potter,
Probably
really?
the Harry Potters. Yeah.
Major League. There's a lot of them. I took
That's
a lot
adorably
of bus rides.
nerdy.
Major League. I can recite probably every word of Major
Really?
League.
You know which one I could recite? Big Daddy.
That's a good one.
Roll the clip.
He's already achieved so much, and yet he's still goal-oriented and still focused. And he has a 5-year plan.
What is it? Don't die?
Opinions on this clip.
It's hilarious seeing. It's so funny because it's like liberal white women gassing him up, and you go on Twitter after that just nightmare debate, and it was like Mark Hamill and everybody out there being like, I don't care what anybody says. He was coherent, and he did a great job, and blah, blah. And
Why
I
do you
was
think
like,
that is?
Oh, bro. It's just, you're in too deep at this point. These guys got to see it all the way through to the end. They've gone on
The
board.
Democrats,
They've
liberal
got
people?
to see it all the way through to the end.
Did you
This
think
is their
Biden
personality
was...
at this point. Their personality is we're right, everybody else is wrong. There's no turning back for so many.
But what about after COVID? They seem to...
They doubled down. Some people leave. I think anybody that hasn't kind of like left by now they're in it. They're in it forever.
What's your take on Bill Maher's perspective? Because it's really surprising to me because I feel like I agree with 80 to 90% of everything that man says. I really love his perspective on a lot of things, and he usually seems really reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to Trump, and I understand they have history, I think he calls it blue goo. And he was explaining, someone was like, what's blue goo? And he said, I would literally vote for Biden's head in a jar of blue goo over Trump. And I'm like, but how can you say that?
Yeah, Sam Harris said that it didn't matter if Hunter Biden had
dead kids in the
dead
basement.
kids in his trunk. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that about?
So when it comes to Bill Maher and Jon Stewart, their job, and they're paid for it by people to be propagandists, is to pull from the center, to do exactly what you just said, to say 80% of really reasonable things, and then sneak in at the end. And Republicans are against everything that we said, and that's why you agree with us, and that's why you can't. Blah, blah. So they do that. They pretend to be reasonable centrists, and then they pull.
You don't think he is? You think it's an act?
I do. I think a lot of the things that he says, I do say, and I'll give him credit for this, he's willing to go off script much, much more than the other ones are. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, he's still, he wants to be seen as the last reasonable Democrat. I was against woke. I was against this, but he's not gonna say anything bad about Gavin Newsom. He's not gonna say anything bad about Obama. You see on his podcast that he genuinely believes that the economy is good, and that so he's in a lot of these people too. A lot of these people too. They're in a bubble, man. They're in a bubble. They're in it's really shocking that there's people out there that just don't live in the same reality that we live in. They just don't. They don't live in our reality. So.
Yeah, because if you're saying that you're voting for just a head in a jar, then you're saying I'm okay with someone I don't know didn't vote for running the country.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what it honestly has probably been happening.
Look at a dude like Louis C.K., and this is old news at this point, but him saying that the open border policy on Rogan is fine because things are too good in America. They shouldn't be this good. It's not fair to the rest of the world.
That was a weird take.
That's but that's a real take. And he wasn't joking. People thought that was like, oh, you guys don't understand Louis C.K. He's joking. This is a bit. No, he was not joking. He was dead ass that this country deserves to be worse. That's why the border should stay open. And it's like, okay. So you admit that the open borders are a bad policy.
He doesn't have kids, right?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. That was super disappointing to hear that take from him. It's like he's living in his own, bubble.
There's a self-loathing aspect to
I was
this.
going to say that, like,
There
unworthiness.
there is like, people call it imposter syndrome or whatever, but there's definitely a self-loathing aspect to this. And there's also almost like this defeatist thing That's the part of it that I can't stand. That like Ray Dalio said, we're in decline. Let's just pack it up, everybody. It's like that's not how this goes. No,
so I know
you
the
can
debates.
stop the decline whenever we decide enough is enough. Whenever we all get together and decide, like, what's it going to take? I don't know what everybody's aha moment is. Like the debates were an aha moment when CNN is saying Joe Biden's got to step down. That's an aha moment for a lot of people.
And also RFK polling 1% higher than Trump.
That was
Is
so
that
that was
Yep.
what I was gonna say. The debates have been about 3 weeks old at this point. What were your guys' takeaways? Did you feel like it was kind of crazy, the 2-minute delay plus the lack of audience, and it felt like there was a guy missing from the stage, someone who's polling right there with Trump and Biden.
Mm-hmm.
What are your guys' thoughts? Has the debate lost its weight?
Oh yeah. Why even debate? What was anybody's mind changed that night? Like, there's nobody that was not gonna vote for Trump, right? That's
They were just rooting for their guy.
Yeah. Now what they want is somebody else instead of Biden, but they're never gonna vote for Trump. I don't think anybody was convinced, you know. But RFK is very interesting because how can a Kennedy be the outsider? But he is. Yeah. It's like now we want to get into conspiracy theories. Is the CIA pulling a, hey, buddy, we kind of owe you one. We're gonna backdoor you in as a third party candidate here.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No, I think he's truly anti-establishment. I think he actually gets things done. There are some things I don't agree with, but I don't know if you saw the bigger ad that he ran right before his own debate that he held. And he brought up the issues that people most kind of go after him for, which was gun control, abortion, and trans rights. And he said instead of basically these issues that don't really matter right now, like our problems are so much bigger than those things that we have to, as the American people, come together and take down these oligarchs and these big institutions that are cannibalizing each other, basically. And then we can, hash out that stuff. But basically all of those things are a distraction right now, and there's a much bigger player that we have to be paying attention to.
There's only one. Think RFK has a shot?
For sure, yeah. I didn't until the debates, and then I was like, people are done with
something
this.
Else, huh?
They're so done with all of this bullshit, and the fact that he wasn't allowed on the stage is really scary.
I wish he did, but I don't think he does. I think the duopoly is too strong. I wish he did, but I don't think he does. But to his point, the only thing that matters in this election is a one-issue election. We cannot continue down the path of losing American sovereignty. The Democratic Party, in its entirety, and probably 60 to 70% of the Republican Party are all on board with ceding American sovereignty to some sort of European bureaucracy. Whether it's NATO, the UN, the WEF, whatever you want to call it, they are 100% on board with us becoming a vassal state to this new European-based bureaucracy, this globalist, whatever you want to call it. And that is the number one most important thing for us to stop. Trump and RFK, I think, would both stop it. So if Trump, for me, has a better chance of election, it's important for him to be elected. Because we cannot continue down the path where we will give up our individual rights, liberties, and freedom to make global bureaucrats happy. That we're on pace for our carbon emissions goals in 2030 and all the other crap that comes out of Belgium and Brussels and Davos. We need to. I'm to the point where I would like to see us divest entirely from European bureaucracies. I don't want us in the UN. I don't want us in the Paris Accords. I don't want us in NATO. Let's take a 4-year break. Let them swim on their own, and then let's reevaluate and come back. That's what I would like.
Trump was talking about going out of NATO.
We should have the discussion.
So you think whoever is kind of in the leadership, whether it's Trump or RFK, is the better move than the alternative?
100%. I hate these terms, although I do like Brett Weinstein calls it Goliath. I do like that. But it's the uniparty, it's the globalist regime, Alex Jones likes to get real conspiratorial. It's the British crown. Take it back over. It comes from the Catholic Church and the British crown. But what it is it's European bureaucracy. And we know it. You can watch Mike Benz has done great work on exposing the money trail and through forensic accounting saying, okay, where does this come from? Where is all the migrant, where is it all coming from? The UN and the Catholic Church in concert with the United States Democrat Party. Okay? You can go back to the year 2000 where, if you talk about white replacement, it's racism and it's this, crazy conspiracy theory. There's an entire Wikipedia page talking about the replacement theory as this dangerous racist thing. And there's a white paper from, I believe, the year 2002 from the UN on migrant replacement for global hegemony, like how a weaker United States through global migration is better for world peace. And you're like, okay, well, this is pretty interesting. And it's a lot of stuff. But the number one thing for all of us, for your future kids, for your kids, is that we maintain sovereignty we keep America for Americans. And if we don't do that, kind of nothing else really matters. Because the economy is no longer in our hands. Gun rights won't be in our hands. Abortion won't be in our hands. We will lose the right to decide on any of these things. So a little bit of
America first, a little non-imperialism?
Not a little bit of America first. We need to be so America first. In this particular moment, we have to be so America first that it's not America first.
That's probably what our president and America should be doing this whole time.
In my mind, it's not America first. It's America only for now. Until we fix what we have to do here.
Because of how deep we've gotten?
Because of how deep we've gotten. That's my opinion.
But we also had both presidents, Trump and Biden, during COVID, and I didn't really see anyone except for DeSantis that was really doing something to maintain our freedoms.
Kristi Noem.
I'm not familiar with what did she pass.
North Dakota.
North Dakota. She was probably going to be either president or vice president before she got caught.
A puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did what?
She shot a puppy and then bragged about it.
And had an affair with somebody in the media, I think, too. But yeah, it was the puppy thing that everybody was like, yeah, you're done.
Yeah, you can't do that here. No, but I mean, sure, she did something for her state. DeSantis was the reason that we could stop wearing the masks on airplanes, so he did something for the country. Trump was in a much higher position. What did he do? Like, he rolled out the vaccines that everyone's telling him to shut up about now because no one cares about them.
And he finally, I think, got that message.
Yeah.
It seemed like he got a little hamstrung.
Who?
Trump.
Well, that's their narrative now. Their narrative
is
that...
Whose narrative? Trump's?
The Trump team narrative is that, he was surrounded by, lifelong GOP people he shouldn't have trusted. And people, it took him too long. They're trying to take the whole thing where...
He appointed Fauci, too, didn't he?
No, he didn't appoint him, but he didn't fire him. He inherited Fauci, but he didn't fire him.
Okay.
Now he tries to act like, I never trusted Fauci. In fact, I found out it came from the China lab because I was like, why are we paying? Why are we paying China? I'm not the biggest Trump guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I was a DeSantis guy. I liked DeSantis. I loved what he did down in Florida. I moved to his state because I liked his leadership. But if it looks like RFK doesn't have a chance, I can't.
So you think the polls?
You would go with Trump.
The polls aren't representative. You don't think?
But if RFK seemed like he had a chance, would you go RFK over Trump?
Now here's the interesting thing. Let's say RFK does have a chance. Let's say they do replace Biden. Maybe by the time this is released, Biden's already been replaced. Let's say it's somebody like Gavin Newsom, who I think is the scum of the earth, Nancy Pelosi's nephew. And again, the Democratic Party, to me, look at who they're running out there. J.B. Pritzker, scum. White men are evil. Oh, by the way, I'm a white billionaire. Okay, cool. Gretchen Whitmer, shut her state down maybe worse than anybody. And also tried to fake a kidnapping of herself to help her poll numbers.
Yeah.
Okay? These people are scum. Scum. This is who we're running out there. Now you have a situation where they might poll so low that the other two guys eat their votes, where RFK and Trump eat each other's votes, split, 36-36, and then the Democrat runs in with 37 or 38%. Which I believe is that how we got Calvin Coolidge? I think we might have got Calvin Coolidge like that. Or who was it? We got when
That math don't make sense.
When
33, 99.
What's up?
Never mind. I just didn't think the math was mathing.
Yeah, there's always 1 or 2% that go to the Libertarian Party or to. Yeah, so I mean,
I get your point, though. I get your point.
Yeah. So we did this already with the Bull Moose Party, where Teddy Roosevelt stole all of the votes from, I believe, was it Taft? Who did Teddy Roosevelt steal the votes from? And then it was, as the third-party candidate, then the least popular candidate ended up winning the presidency. If it's Woodrow Wilson, I'm going to lose my mind because he's the worst president we've ever had. That was the thing that killed me about Biden's the worst president we've ever had. No, Biden's top 5 maybe. The worst president we ever had put us into the Civil War, right? I believe that was Buchanan. That's the worst president we ever had. And then Woodrow Wilson he might be the worst president we've ever had. He put us into the United Nations. He got us into World War I. He created the Federal Reserve. How can you get worse than Woodrow Wilson? As bad as Joe Biden's been. Woodrow Wilson, basically, people might look back and said that was the end of the American experiment. Who was it, Christian?
Not really saying.
Teddy. Just give me the 3 guys and I'll tell you who won. Teddy Roosevelt. Woodrow Wilson. It was Woodrow Wilson.
William Howard Taft.
Yeah, it was Wilson, wasn't it?
Former President Theodore.
So it did. It gave us the worst president of all time. Great. Awesome. So there's that we have to look forward to. That these guys might eat each other. We can see a scenario unfolding where Biden leaves with 120 days left in the election. 4 months. That's it. And then Trump and RFK start beating each other to death from basically the same anti-establishment base. And then the Democrats, the vote goo no matter who people, all go in with Gavin Newsom. And we wake up on November 7th with President Gavin Newsom.
Do you think that terrifies me because he just seems like a sociopath. Do you think he has a chance in any swing states, though?
Only if what I just described happens, where RFK and Trump split the swing states and Gavin Newsom wins all the blue no matter who states.
Oh, my God.
Well, on that scary note, tune
That's
in
if we have an election
week.
at all, guys.
if any of it even matters.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah. Well, tune in next week for another episode of Cancel Weekly. Candace, Gerard, Mickey, we love y'all. Peace.